In the heart of the vast Navajo reservation, where desolate landscapes stretched endlessly beneath a moonlit sky, a sinister presence had awakened. It was a presence spoken of only in hushed tones, a legend that had never been meant to cross the boundary between folklore and reality. But now, in the dead of night, it stalked the reservation once more. Amelia Blackclaw had returned to her ancestral homeland, drawn back by a sense of duty she couldn't quite understand. She was a young woman with a mix of Navajo and Anglo heritage, and as she walked along the dirt road that led to her family's old cabin, she couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled in her chest. She had heard the stories of the Skinwalkers as a child, but she had always dismissed them as nothing more than tales meant to keep children from wandering too far from home. As Amelia approached the cabin, she noticed the eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. The reservation, once filled with the laughter of children and the chatter of elders, had fallen eerily quiet. It was as though the very land itself held its breath, waiting for something ominous to occur. Inside the cabin, Amelia found old photographs of her grandparents and parents, all of whom had passed away long before her return. The weight of the past pressed down on her, and she wondered if there was something here, some connection to her heritage that she needed to uncover. That night, as she lay in her childhood bed, she heard it for the first time, the haunting, mournful cry of a coyote. Except this cry sounded different, more human, and it chilled her to the bone. Goosebumps prickled her skin as she realized that the old stories might not be as fanciful as she had once believed. Days turned into nights, and Amelia's unease deepened. She heard whispers from the other residents of the reservation, stories of livestock found mutilated and tracks that shifted from human to animal, seemingly at will. The Skinwalkers were real, they said, and they were growing bolder with each passing night. Amelia decided to visit her elderly neighbor, Chief Red Hawk, who was known for his knowledge of Navajo lore. His eyes, clouded with age, held a hint of recognition as she mentioned the Skinwalkers. "Child," he said in a low, trembling voice, "you have returned at a perilous time. The curse that has plagued our people for generations has awakened once more." Amelia felt a shiver run down her spine. "What can we do, Chief Red Hawk? How do we stop them?" He leaned in, his frail fingers gripping her arm with surprising strength. "To confront the Skinwalkers, you must undergo a ritual, a test of your spirit and courage. Only then will you have a chance to banish them from this land." Determined, Amelia agreed to the ritual, unaware of the horrors that awaited her. Chief Red Hawk led her deep into the reservation, to a sacred site hidden from prying eyes. The ritual involved fasting for 3 days and nights, connecting with her ancestors through prayer, and reciting ancient chants. Throughout the ordeal, she felt the presence of the Skinwalkers growing stronger, as though they were watching and waiting for her to falter. On the third night of the ritual, the chilling desert winds carried a sense of foreboding, stirring the sagebrush and rattling the dry leaves like whispers of the past. Amelia, her body weakened by 3 days of fasting and prayer, knelt within the sacred circle, her eyes fixed on the ancient symbols etched into the earth. Her heart pounded like a war drum as she whispered the final incantation, her voice quivering but resolute. As if summoned by her invocation, the air grew thick with tension. Suddenly, the stillness of the night shattered. Footsteps, soft at first, then steadily growing louder, approached from the inky darkness beyond the circle. Amelia's breath caught in her throat, and she clutched her chest, trying to quell the terror that threatened to consume her. Emerging from the shadows, a sinister figure materialized, moving with an unnatural grace. His eyes were like twin voids, absorbing the faint moonlight, and his gaunt face bore a cruel, twisted smile that sent shivers down her spine. It was a Skinwalker, and he had come to test her mettle. Amelia's heart raced as the Skinwalker circled her, each step echoing like a death knell. With each circuit, he shifted forms, a grotesque display of his malevolent power. First, he became a coyote, snarling and snapping his jaws with primal hunger. Then, he morphed into an owl, its wings stretched wide in ominous silence. Finally, he took on a semblance of a man again, but one that was warped and monstrous. As the Skinwalker closed in, Amelia felt a cold sweat trickle down her spine. Her mind raced with doubt and fear, but she knew that to falter now would doom not only her but also the reservation to the malevolent grip of these creatures. With trembling hands, she clutched a small pouch of sacred herbs she had prepared for this moment. In one swift, desperate motion, she flung the herbs into the air, and they ignited in a brilliant, blinding burst of white light. The Skinwalker recoiled, his monstrous features contorted in agony as he shielded his eyes from the sudden radiance. Amelia seized the opportunity and began chanting the final verses of the incantation, her voice now steady and unwavering. The light enveloped the Skinwalker, casting eerie, elongated shadows that danced around him like specters of his malevolence. For a moment, it seemed as though the ancient words would prevail, that the evil would be banished from the land. But as the first rays of dawn pierced the horizon, the Skinwalker let out a blood-curdling scream that resonated through the desert. His form flickered and twisted, resisting the banishment. In a desperate last gambit, the Skinwalker lunged at Amelia with unnatural speed, his claws outstretched. Time seemed to slow as her heart raced. With a surge of inner strength and a thrust of a small totem toward the creature, she recited the final line of the incantation. The totem erupted in a blaze of ethereal flames, forcing the Skinwalker to recoil once more, with an otherworldly wail that pierced the night. The Skinwalker finally retreated, his form dissolving into the enveloping darkness. The desert fell silent once more, the only sound being Amelia's labored breaths. Chief Red Hawk appeared beside her, his eyes filled with pride and relief. "Amelia, you have passed the test. The Skinwalkers will trouble our people no more." But as the first light of dawn broke over the reservation, Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that this battle was far from over. As she gazed out at the vast expanse of the Navajo reservation, she whispered a prayer for strength and courage, ready to face the horrors that still lurked in the night. The legend of the Skinwalkers may have faded into obscurity for most. But for Amelia Blackclaw, it was a nightmare that would never truly end. She had faced the malevolent presence that lurked in the shadows and emerged victorious, but she knew that the Skinwalkers would not easily forget their defeat. The ancient evil still whispered through the desert winds, and she would remain forever bound to her ancestral land, a sentinel against the darkness that threatened to return.